Hey, everybody, welcome to The Blacklist, the show where we interview the elite. Today on my right, we have Sabine, who's going to talk a lot about her story, a lot about how she helps her clients. But for people that don't know you, right, this is their first time listening in, who is Sabine and what is it that you do?
Well, that's a loaded question. Well, first of all, let me start by I lived half of my life in Europe,
Yep.
and that's where I was born and raised in Germany, and the other half in the US, where I started all my businesses.
Yes.
So, yeah, when now I run several businesses, but when I started out, I didn't know that entrepreneurship was really in my heart. I grew up in a lower middle class family, and when you start out, you have no idea what to do with your life.
Yeah.
So I listened to the well-meant advice of my dad, who said, Sabine, find a job with benefits and a good salary so you can pay your bills, have something left over to pursue your hobbies. I thought it was a good idea, so I did. I started business, I got an associate in business, and ended up working for an insurance company as a claim adjuster.
Yeah.
As you only imagine, this was not me. It might be a dream job for someone else. But here's the thing. When I really got aware of that, I found myself one day staring out of the window, thinking to myself, I cannot do this for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
What is mine to do? Ask and ye shall receive, right? That same week, I had a chance meeting with my former drama and music teacher who reminded me what I love to do. I was always acting, singing, dancing. And then he asked me if I was still active with my groups, and I said no. And then he said one thing that literally changed my life.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. He said, what a shame, Sabine, you are so talented. And I said, wow, that's right. And that was the time where I went home, and I know I needed to pursue, my passion was acting. I went home and opened up the yellow pages. It dates me, I know. But I scheduled an audition for an acting school and got started.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know the how yet. And that's what I always tell my clients. You don't need to know it, but you need to know your why. And that was important to me. So I changed career against all the dream stealers that I had and started becoming an actress.
Yeah.
And you know, the funny thing what they said, Sabine, you will never make money in this, right? But after being a stage actress for 2 years, I landed a role on TV. And we only shot 6 weeks over the summer. But during that time, I made more money than I did the entire year working as a claim adjuster.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So that really got me started. And I was a stage and TV actress in Germany for 10 years. And then I met my now husband on a European tour, and we traveled the world as directors, put on shows, but then we said, you know, it's time to get serious and start our business.
Yeah.
So that's when I started my first business in the US, a performing arts school that I ran for 27 years.
Yeah.
And that was really the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. And yeah, everything really unfolded from there.
Well, I love that because, when I was growing up too, they say like, oh, you're not going to make money in that. I think that's a very natural thing to say if they just are not familiar with the industry, kind of like how they told you with like acting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to make any money in that. But it isn't until, you start kind of diving into it and really like throwing yourself and going all in, where you'll find out if you will or you won't. But what I like about that is you didn't let somebody else kind of like tell you, what you would do or wouldn't do. In fact, they kind of motivated you when they said, I forgot exactly what they said. Oh, that you're talented, right?
Yes.
That it's a shame that you're talented. So do you help do the same thing with your clients? Like, are you helping them envision what their life could look like if they understood that they're talented and they can move forward?
Absolutely. That is one of the things that I'm very passionate about, because I truly believe when we do what we love what you do, everything else will fall in place. We have a happier life. But most importantly, you have been given a talent. You have been given a gift by your creator, whatever you believe in. And that is to pursue your passion and be on purpose with that. And it can change throughout the year.
Yeah.
So for me, it started out being a performer, and I entertained. I made people laugh and cry and think. I played wonderful roles like Les Mis, Madame Thénardier, and Les Miserables, and so many other wonderful shows that I did. But then it shifted. I got the calling, okay, the next step in your life is to teach, to coach. And I coached over 10,000 students and clients over the years. But the most important part is when you know what's your gift, your talent, listen to your intuition, listen to your heart and your head. It all both goes together. And that means you are on purpose. And that changed everything. And what I realized during the time I had my performing arts school, I was able to make a difference in young people's lives, adults. But when I started working with aspiring actors, I was a talent scout, and I prepared them and get them ready in front of agents and casting directors.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed, why did some get successful and others not? You know, the 20-80 rule, right? It applies to that too. And I realized, talent is only 20%. 80% is your attitude, your mindset. How do you set goals? How do you go after it? And that's when I started writing my first book. It started out with a workbook, and then I published a book to leave something for my students that they can, like a roadmap, so to speak. And that led me to speak more, and then I started speaking in front of different audiences, and they wanted more to take with them. That's when I wrote my second book, Unlock Your Full Potential, 10 Easy Steps to Live the Life You Imagine. And I put all my experience into it and gave them a roadmap. If you pursue that, of course, your mindset is huge.
Yeah.
And that got me started on that road that I'm now helping entrepreneurs, actually. So I don't have my performing arts school any longer. I sold that, and I started my business communication coaching center. So it's really helping entrepreneurs to be better in front of the camera, to craft their signature message. It's very important that you craft it a certain way. And then how you become your brand that really aligns with who you are.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I tell you, I did things too on my journey. It was not all, a cakewalk. Let me put it this way. I did some derailing with things that was not in alignment with who I am.
Right.
And when you do that, you drift away. But you learn. But that's basically what I do now and who I serve.
Well, I mean, I can vouch for how you do on camera because you're doing phenomenal. You can tell, like, you're just very well spoken. You pause correctly. You talk a lot faster when you're more passionate. You emphasize things so. Yeah, you do a very, very good job, and I think a lot of that came from entertainment when you were learning that, right? And I also like the fact that you help on mindset because. Sure, with the actors, I can totally, I understand, but I'm not in that space, so I don't fully, grasp it. But I know that entrepreneurs need that type of help because there's a lot of ups and downs, right? Pretty natural. What do you find, what did you end up finding out when you were working on mindset with your students? What did you actually take away from that, bring to the world of entrepreneurship?
So the mindset is the basics, but it also has something to do with mindset is the basic, but you have to do something beyond that. And that is taking action, taking the right action. Because sometimes you can get in this trap of, okay, I'm working on my mindset and it's good, but just sitting back.
Yeah.
Right?
No, there's this famous quote by Alan Watts. He says, the person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts, and that's kind of similar. Like somebody that's just constantly working on their mindset is just kind of like only focusing on that. And really, I mean, I was in that position, I'm like, everybody keeps talking about it. It's a big buzzword. And that's kind of what they focus on initially. And then you don't necessarily do anything about it afterwards.
I totally agree. And when I started working with my performers first, I started with a mindset, but then I also gave them tools about the goal setting and creating a plan.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where a lot of people stumble. They don't know the end result. You need to know what the end results that you want to see in your business. So if you have a business, you said, well, I want to share my message. Well, that's great. But what do you really want to achieve also for your own life? Because it's not only what do I want to teach others, or how do I serve others, but you also have to have a good balance that also aligns with your life. And when you do that, when you have that end goal, it always can change, it will always evolve, but you have to set something. And then you do have like process goals that brings you to your end goal.
Yeah.
And that oftentimes is overlooked, those little process goals. Because when you go to the first process goal, you have to celebrate it. You have to say, yes, I did it. And that, in turn, will also help you get the confidence. See, it's a loop. You have to have competence in order to gain your confidence.
Yeah.
When you gain your confidence, you learn more skills. Obviously, that's always part of it, too. It's not just doing it. You also have to hone in your skills. But that's the loop. You get better at it. You gain more confidence. You gain more competence, confidence, and so forth, right? And when you do that, you are on your way to success. And if you have a plan in place, and that's what I work with my clients.
And I like what you said before we turned on the cameras, which is your podcast is all about who do you have to become in order to achieve the results that you're looking for. That goes with your strategy, the goal setting, your mindset. And how does that roll, or how do you kind of help them become the person that they're kind of meant to be?
All right. It's, of course, an individual process.
Yeah.
Everyone is on a different path. And I believe a good coach, first of all, should listen. And when you are able to listen to your clients and dig a little bit deeper to their whys, you know where they want to go. And that's the first step.
Yeah.
Then I can see, how can I help them gain that confidence first, make them feel good? Because you have to feel good about yourself. Now, another thing that is very important to become the person that you're meant to be so you can live the life you're destined to live,
Yeah.
which is my tagline of my podcast, Become. There are different layers to it. It's your physical and your mental and your spiritual.
I hear that a lot, like very, very often, like people focus on those three cores very, very often, because I'll interview people, right? And they're like, yeah, you have to work on your physical body, you have to work on your mental state, and you also have to work on your spiritual, whether that's faith or God or whatever that may look like for them. Why is it a recurring theme? Why is it important that they focus on those three things? Why can't they just focus on one or two?
It's a good question. You see, if you just go in one direction, say you totally disregard your physical being, you just reading and say, okay, mindset, and I know this is important what I have to do, and you neglect. See, this is one of those times, when you speak two languages and said, how was that, the pronunciation?
Yeah.
So nobody's perfect. And that's also one thing I stress with my clients. You can make mistakes. It's perfectly okay, right? So when you not watch your health and your body, right, you don't have the stamina. You don't have the energy. And one other important fact that I just learned recently, because me too, I'm getting in better shape because I was slacking off a little bit, and I know I have to do this if I want to stay strong and keep serving the way I do. Walking is one of the best exercises. But one other thing that is very important, and this really is in alignment with what I teach, creativity. See, creativity is so important in your journey. And sometimes when we are faced with a problem and you go out for a walk, you create a distance from your problem, your cortisol level goes down, and your happy hormones are getting up. So stress hormones going down, happy hormones going up. You feel better about yourself. When you feel better about yourself, you can do great things. You are more creative. And then you approach your problem or the situation or the hurdle that you have to overcome as an entrepreneur so differently.
Yeah.
And you can get over it.
Is there a common theme that you're finding with clients or people where they're, when they get stuck, like, is it like a loop where they just kind of get into a bad mindset first, or what common theme do you normally find?
One common theme is the self-talk.
So it's bad self-talk, negative?
Negative self-talk. And when you have this negative self-talk, sometimes you don't even know because it's programmed from childhood. I even have to deal with that. Oh, where does that come from?
Yeah.
On your conscious level, you already worked through it, but there's still some of the things, our subconscious mind is so powerful in positive ways, but also all those negative things that are stored back from childhood, right?
Yeah.
That people told you that you have to overcome. So that's the first thing that I work with my clients. Say, watch your self-talk. And so I have a couple things that I, very, very simple, very, very easy to remind them on a physical plane. So I often ask them, put this rubber band around your wrist. And every time you catch yourself, because that's the first thing you have to be aware.
Yeah.
You snap that rubber band. And at the end, you will see, ooh, how many red strips did I have, right? And that's also a physical reminder, oh, wait a second. And when we bring our physical and our mental together, that's when we can make powerful changes.
Yeah, I love that. So for the people that are listening, right, they're interested because, they want to grow, they want to be better, and they want to work with you. Where can people find you?
Well, very simple, just by my name, SabineKvenberg.com. It's SabineKvenberg.com. And if you put /resources, you're able to download some free resources, schedule a discovery session with me, or you can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, all under my name. That's easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
I love being here with you. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.